Olá, seja muito bem-vindo ao meu canal e hoje nós vamos jogar um pouco de Stanley Parable.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Essa é a história de um homem chamado Stanley.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how
Só?
long to push them, and in what order.
Eu quero
This
que eu
is what
trabalhe assim.
employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-ending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Certo. Que
And
bom
then
que ele
one
era
day,
feliz.
something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation.
Ninguém
Something was
gosta
very
dele.
clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Certo. Tá, essa é minha mesa e eu recebo ordens. Isso aí.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of
Aqui
his
temos o Caio
co-workers.
que aponta o lápis. O computador. E eu desliguei o computador. Não deu nem pra ver o que me deu. Acho que esse cara só sabe fazer uma coisa, apertar botões. Aí, ó. Desligou. Você sabe apertar o botão. Ninguém. Até que parece um jogo de terror. Eu sei fechar portas.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Isso não avançava a história de jeito nenhum. Ah, né? Aí alguém derrubou aqui o café. Então vamos, né?
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
E ele entrou a porta à sua esquerda. Eu poderia entrar na esquerda, mas como tá tudo tão estranho, por que eu vou ouvir o locutor? Tá, vamos ouvir o locutor dessa vez? Se o jogo for legal, eu faço tudo ao contrário no próximo vídeo.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
O que tá escrito aqui? Ah tá, é só letras. E aqui? Rendimento. E o projetor? Ah tá no teto que eu ia falar. Nossa, não faz nem sombra.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Posso nem pegar uma vassoura, vai que aparece alguém.
There was nothing here, no choice to make, no path to follow, Just an empty broom closet. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his
Subiu.
boss's office.
Aí a gente pode descer. Então, mais um caminho para seguir. Vamos subir. Ele mandou subir. Painel executivo. Isso, a porta. Está fechada.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Aqui. 2845.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Ele entrou na passagem. Vamos lá, né? Aqui é o que? É o mundo de show de Truman? Ah, botão.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Nossa, que lugar é esse?
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Escape. E agora? Ele vai, corre pela onde está escrito fugir. Bom, vamos, como eu falei, né? Vamos entrar.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Mais um lugar. E a câmeras. Né?
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
E tem até um ali que tem vermelho, ali ó, outro vermelho. E cadê o 427? Tava por aqui. Aqui, achei. Esse aqui, ó, 427. Essa linha.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
E isso aqui não consigo desligar. Será que... Ah, tá aqui.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Tudo que ele representava. Opa. Vamos lá. Off.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes, he had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path
Isso
before
aqui é
him.
tudo uma mentira.
This was exactly the way,
Porque ele
right
seguiu
now,
só as ordens
that
do
things were
locutor.
meant to happen.
Então a gente não pegou lugar nenhum.
And Stanley was happy.
Bom, gente, eu vou encerrar o vídeo por aqui. Se você gostou, deixa o like. Se você quer ver mais os outros finais desse jogo, se inscreve no canal e até a próxima.